welcome back. This is Glenn over at Mad Racing Parts. I wanted to go over some of the hose data or hose technical side for guys that are ordering our Brown & Miller or our Mad Racing hoses. There's a few things that we need to get your order right, and I just want to go over like proper measuring and assembly and stuff like that. So hopefully it helps people have a little easier time with it. So the first thing I want to talk about is measuring your hoses. And especially when you have some goofy angles like this 150 and a 90, people don't know how long to tell me to make the hose. And there's two numbers I can work with. You can tell me the length of the hose, which in this case is about 7¼ inches, and I'll cram a fitting on each end of a 7¼ inch piece of hose, and it's yours. The other way is you can tell me the nut to nut measurement. And the nut to nut measurement is always going to be the center of this nut, where the wrench would go, the center of the wrench flat to the center of this wrench flat. So even though this has got a 120 and a 90, you would measure that, and in this case you would tell me you want a 120, a 90, and 10 inches long, and we'll get it that way every time. Now the next thing that people run into problems with is clocking. In other words, you use fixed fittings. These don't rotate. So if you don't tell me what angle you want it at, I don't know how to crimp it. So one solution is we put a double swivel fitting on one end and a fixed fitting on the other. And then it doesn't matter because this fitting will swivel even after it's crimped. It adds a little bit to the length, as you can see. A little less hose, a little more fitting. And sometimes they're tight to get into places. Another thing to be cognizant of on a double swivel fitting is that there is an O-ring in here. And so not this year or next year, but maybe 10 years from now, or way down the road, it's a potential leak. It's a potential wear point and something to leak. So we don't use the double swivels unless we feel we really have to, because it is just another potential failure point. Not saying that because we have problems with them, just letting you know it's always a potential when you have an O-ring and something that moves, that it will wear out over time. These don't wear out. They'll be here 100 years from now, just like they look right here. So anyway, if you want to tell me how to clock it, this is 290s. What you do is you take the first angled fitting, the 90, or the 45, whatever's on this end, and you stick it in your belly button with the fitting pointing straight down. And then you tell me, looking out away from you, where this is pointed. This one, straight down, right? Here we're at 3 o'clock. We could be at 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 10:30. And you give me a clock position for this second fitting. Put the first fitting in your belly, down to the ground, and the clock position of this fitting. Looking at it, the clock position. And then I'll know how to crimp it. In the case of this one, it's straight down at my belly button, 6 o'clock, and it's 3 o'clock here. And I would get that right every time. If you're assembling your own hoses, cutting and trimming, if we sent you a whole bunch of parts and you want to mock it all up yourself and have us crimp it, it's important that we know the clock position. You can write that down for each of your hoses, label them. I always prefer that you actually mark it, and don't try to mark this black braid or the stainless braid. Slip this guy back a little bit and put your mark on this Kevlar here and on the fitting, so that there's just a big old mark. Use a paint marker, something white or blue or a bright color that'll show up on the Kevlar and the black. Don't use a black one, obviously. And just get a nice line somewhere. It doesn't matter where you put the line as long as they're two marks that register with each other. And we'll get that right every time. And also, if you have, obviously, I can't believe people get tripped up on this, but if you have a straight fitting on one end, then clocking doesn't matter on the other end. It just doesn't matter because the whole hose can turn. So there's no reason to have a double swivel here. So hopefully that helps everybody out and helps me out and be more efficient getting your hoses made. Thanks a lot.